And welcome to the Bulloch Sports Report. I'm Josh Aubrey. Plenty to get to in this week's show. Big news out of the Georgia Southern football program, and it's not always big news when the number 2 quarterback decides to transfer, but at Georgia Southern, pretty big news is quarterback Dexter Williams has helped the Eagles to 2 come-from-behind victories, coming in relief of quarterback J.C. French. He has decided he is leaving the team and entering the transfer portal. Williams played in 5 games this year. 2 notable, the Marshall game in which he helped lead a furious fourth quarter comeback with less than 9 minutes left to help the Eagles come all the way back to beat Marshall. And then he also last week came in relief, scored the go-ahead touchdown with a touchdown pass in that game to knock off South Alabama. So big news from there on the football side of things. On as far as the athletic department goes, pretty big news as athletic director Jared Benko has decided to step down and take a position at at Auburn University to be their number 2 behind their athletic director there. And the Eagles' number 2, that being Chris Davis, who was the COO, has now taken over as the athletic director there. We'll hear from the new athletic director, Chris Davis, as well as Dr. Kyle Marrero coming up in just a little bit. The Eagle football team off this week. They're back in action next week against Troy. So nothing to bring you as far as interviews with Coach Helton or the players. We'll have that next week. But as for our area high school football games, there's plenty as the regular season come to a close and the playoffs start for the Bulloch Academy Gators. They'll be opening up the state playoffs in the quarterfinals as they host Pacelli at Gator Alley. The Statesboro Blue Devils was still an outside chance of making it to the state playoffs. They host Lakeside in their regular season finale at Womack Field. The Southeast Bulloch Yellow Jackets have already sewed up the number 3 spot in their region. They'll be hosting Groves to end the regular season as they prepare for the state. And the Portal Panthers in their final game of the season, they'll be hosting Savannah High. We'll have previews from those high school games for you, as well as hearing from the new athletic director, Chris Davis. All that and more coming up on the Bulloch Sports Report. And a reminder before we go to break, hopefully you'll never be in an accident, but if so, please give our friends at the Sullivan Law Firm a call, 912-489-8888, or online at thesullivanlawfirm.com. Well, big news from Georgia Southern on 2 fronts. One, quarterback Dexter Williams has decided to transfer or to enter the transfer portal and is no longer on the roster, which means Georgia Southern is now down to J.C. French as the starter, and then Tyler Budge as the backup as the number 2, because David Dallas, who was also in the quarterback hunt in the spring and in the fall preseason, has not been able to play this year due to a shoulder injury. So the Eagles were pretty deep at quarterback. Now they're pretty thin. The only other quarterback, Trey Townsend, is still on the roster. Colton Fitzgerald is out with an injury as well. So Trey Townsend right now is the number 3. So hopefully the Eagles can stay healthy. As for the news off the field, the Georgia Southern Athletic Department announced that athletic director Jared Benko will be leaving to take over as the number 2 at Auburn. And his number 2 here, the COO, Chris Davis, has taken over as athletic director. We had a chance to hear from the new athletic director, Chris Davis, as well as Dr. Kyle Marrero on Davis being named athletic director at a press conference earlier this week.
I didn't have a sit-down interview with everyone because I've been around Dr. Marrero for 4.5 years. I've been around our board for 4.5 years. I've been around our coaches, our staff, our student athletes for 4.5 years. And I just came to work in the moment that was that, which was my role at that moment. Never tried to take anything other than Jared's our athletic director at that moment, and I had my role. I was the deputy athletic director when I got here. You know, I promoted chief operating officer, and that was the key thing, was to earn every moment. And I'm a big believer in trying not to manufacture success, but be who you are and be you every single day. And so when Dr. Marrero, I will say, when Dr. Marrero called me and said, I'd like to officially, because he was out traveling for some university type business, when he called me and said, hey, Chris, I'd like to officially offer you the opportunity to be our director of athletics. I mean, that was real, and it was a really cool moment. I was actually standing inside Allen E. Paulson Stadium. How fitting, that he called me and I just happened to be standing there in Allen E. Paulson Stadium. So feel honored and blessed, man. Just really honored and blessed. Because been here for the last 4.5 years, right, and being a part of everything, I want to continue the momentum. We've had unbelievable success over the last 4.5 years in all the different factors of college athletics, and want to continue to drive that momentum, not miss a beat, and really, and I said it earlier, but be very people-centric. I'm a firm believer, and because of maybe my marketing background and external background of understanding how important brands are huge, and Georgia Southern logo is way bigger than us, and will be bigger than us. But the people behind the logo drive it. And that's in any company, that's in any university, that's in anything. And so really, really big on the people piece, big with our student athletes being at the forefront, at the epicenter, and then making sure our coaches, our staff, and all of Eagle Nation feels like we're all on one page together to support them. And then keeping the alignment with the institution as a whole is kind of, and I said it earlier, but the secret sauce. And everyone talked about culture and talked about all these different words. But to me, I feel like a high level of elite communication and good connectivity is really key for the alignment piece, and we have it. So we just need to keep it going. I understand the importance of this role, and I understand that it carries more weight. But at the same token, I am going to be me. And I also want everyone to know, we're going to keep this thing going forward. We don't need to. I've been a part of all these decisions with Jared, so we don't need to just change things just because we need to put some spin on it because that's what Jared did. To me, that's a lack of confidence. I believe that there's things that we can continue to. We're not done yet. And so like I said earlier, we're not done yet. So we need to evolve. We need to continue to assess and adjust. We need to make sure that our winning mentality, I love to talk about winning. I'm a competitive person, extremely competitive, right? And because I'm competitive, I want to make sure our student athletes are put in a position to win. And I want to make sure our student athletes feel supported. And I want Eagle Nation to know that that's a very important thing for all of us is to look at a winning mentality. But that's not just on the court or on the field or in the pool or in the that's in the classroom. And that's also making sure that we champion them to be ready for life. That's why I said, there's only – when Jared called me when I was at Auburn, the reason that was so exciting to come here was because this logo has traditions. This logo has a brand. And that's really neat. And you can dive deeper into those traditions, dive deeper into the Eagle Nation, and make sure that we're able to make that impact. And that to me is why this is such a I feel like, and Randy and I talk about it. I meant every word I said. This feels like home, because we've been able to pour ourselves in this community, and this community has wrapped their arms around Randy, myself, Colt, Harper, and Tatum for 4.5 years. And so it's easy to be able to think about how we can impact not only this institution, but our athletic department, student athletes, coach, and staff, as well as our community.
We were close to losing Jared a couple years ago. And so at that time, we knew we had already made the decision. So when this came up, Chris was even more ready, and we were ready to have him at the leadership. We're thrilled for Jared. I mean, this is exactly what we planned for. We always knew he wanted to be in the SEC in a leadership role and setting up for his future goal of being an AD in the SEC. And so for us, it was next person up, and that was Chris. And we knew Chris was prepared and ready. I know Chris's attributes. I know what a great leader he is. I know behind the scenes that he's the tactical person that's making everything happen in athletics operationally, so he knows it from soup to nuts. I know he's been part of our key decisions, strategic decisions with athletics, the success of our student athletes, one-on-one with coaches, the relationships. And then I can tell you, right after the announcement, and athletics is not real good at keeping things secret, as you know, I went through 3 charges on my phone on Tuesday and Wednesday, getting texts from people all over the nation that I never knew that somehow got my cell phone congratulating me on the hire of Chris Davis. So that was about as validating as it can be.
Well, elsewhere, the Georgia Southern men's and women's basketball teams both got the season underway and got the season off with victories. First, let's send you out for some highlights from head coach Charlie Henry's season opening victory, which was nice to see considering last year how they started the season. Georgia Southern hosting Northern Illinois to start the season, and the tradition continues. After the first basket of the game, Eugene Brown with the honors. And the final TP toss at Hanner Fieldhouse to open the season. The Eagles continue to hit from outside. Nate Bradford with the three. Georgia Southern out to an early lead. The Huskies answer with James Dent Jr., but then on the fast break, Bradley Douglas, a one-handed slam. The Eagle fans loving it. The drive, the bucket, and the foul by Adante Holloman. And the Eagles start 1-0, winning 80-65. And congratulations to Hannah Hayden, who notched her first win as a Georgia Southern head coach as they knocked off the Ohio Bobcats by a score of 82-70. This past week, both of those teams will be back in action next week. All right, stay with us. High school previews coming up next.
This is Paul Newman with Statesboro Real Estate. Have you been on the sidelines? Well, now's the time to list your house. Let's GATA and get after those assets.
Well, the Statesboro Blue Devils still have an outside shot at making it to the state playoffs as the number 4 seed. They're going to have to knock off Lakeside, who's only lost one game this season. And they're also going to have to get some help from Evans to knock off Glenn Academy in order for them to make it to the postseason. But we had a chance to talk with head coach Matt Dobson and a couple of his players about how they feel going into the final game of the regular season.
Yeah, I think our guys are excited to have an opportunity. Definitely not the way we want to do it, where we control our own destiny, so to speak. But our guys are excited that they do have an opportunity. All we can do is go out and control what we can control, and then just hope that Evans beats Glenn and scores at least 14 points in that one. But our guys are excited that we have a chance. In a big region like this, the majority of the teams in our region are not really playing for anything this weekend. The bottom 5, I guess, are kind of all out, and then the top couple are already locked into their spots. And so it's exciting for our kids to have an opportunity to play with a chance to go to the postseason. With losing a couple of close games that we did this year, for us to still have a shot is a confidence booster for our kids.
What does Lakeside bring to the table? What do you have to do to pull off a win?
Yeah, it starts, with their offensively with their quarterback. He's a dynamic athlete. He starts on the defensive side of the ball in the secondary for him as well, returns kicks, and that's just the type of athlete he is. But he can throw it, and he's got a couple weapons to throw it too. But when he drops back to pass, you better have a guy on him for when he does tuck it and run, and then the design runs. You got to have guys on him. He's dynamic, and then they got two. I think they're twin brothers that play receiver and running back. They're 2 other best players on offense that also play on the defensive side of the ball, and then they have a tight end / linebacker that plays both ways. So they're 4 top guys, all go both ways. They're all 4 seniors, all 4 really good athletes, and those 4 guys account for the majority of their yards offensively, and then a lot of the plays they make defensively. And so defensively, we want to try to wear them down a little bit. Make those guys that are having to tote the football offensively, make them have to tackle us, getting some sets where those DBs have to get up and tackle, and then offensively just try to limit the big plays. That's kind of what got us last week in the Effingham game, was a couple of long touchdown throws. This week I probably worry a little bit more about long touchdown runs than I do throws, but still want to limit those big plays.
I feel like we can do it. If everybody just come together and do their part, I feel like we can do it.
What do you feel like the team is doing well right now?
I mean, we doing hard. We working hard in the weight room. We preparing.
What do you expect out of Lakeside?
I know they blitzing. They coming.
What do you feel like you guys have to do in order to come out with the win Friday?
Move the ball.
I feel like we can go great, as in moving as a team and starting on the game at a great start.
What do you feel like Lakeside does well, and what do you think you guys have to do to come out on top Friday?
I feel like they do a good job of moving the ball on offense. So in order to win, we're going to have to shut down the quarterback and the running back.
The Bulloch County Farm Bureau on Northside Drive is a multi-line insurance agent writing farm, auto, homeowners, life, health insurance, and more. Nick Sherrod and the other 5 local agents are on standby for your convenience for in-depth insurance review. And while you're there, check out the products from local farmers. Located at 940 Northside Drive, stop by and see them today. Well, for the Southeast Bulloch Yellow Jackets, they've not sewed up the number 3 spot in their region. They'll be closing out the regular season at home against Groves on Friday night. We had a chance to talk with head coach Jared Zito and a couple of his players about how the Jackets feel about going into this game and hopeful to get a little momentum going into the state playoffs.
Again, it's a home game. It's senior night, which is really important for our guys. Get a chance to play in front of our home fans here at Fred Shaver Field. And it's a region game, which is always big. We need to clean up a few things that we made some mistakes on last week. Gave up, again, special teams on kickoff coverage. Sure up our tackling, had a couple missed tackles that we weren't real excited about. And a few things offensively that kept us from scoring 1 or 2 more drives. And hopefully we gain a little more confidence and feel a little better going into the playoffs if we can clean that stuff up.
What do you like that you've seen progressing and going into this one?
Well, number one, our offensive line. They've been good for us all year, and it's kind of where everything bases out of. Our running backs, by committee most of the time, of course, Colby Smith and Jade Murphy take the lead, but you get Quentin Reed, Stevie Padgett, Chase Douglas, those 3 have really contributed big time for us. I've liked our progression of Rhett Morgan, our quarterback. Last week he had 3 touchdown passes. Is taking care of the football, is running the offense. I think our secondary has played really well all year in terms of just not giving up big plays and being really good in the run support. Those are the things that have, it stood out the last couple of weeks. But again, we're playing good team football. That's probably the biggest thing that excites me. When you look across our roster, we've got good players. We got some guys that will play college football for sure. But we're not a team that's loaded with names that you got all these P4 offers and all these kind of things. We got kids that play really hard. They're coachable. They're trusting the system and trusting what they've been coached to do, and they're playing really selfless football right now.
We've been making holes massive for running backs and just making our run game and our passing game has improved a lot too.
You got Groves this week. They've struggled. But I'm sure there's some things you want to kind of clean up from last week and kind of go into the postseason. What kind of things are you working on?
I think we should really need to clean up the flags. Our flags have been killing us, especially on defense. It'll be like 3rd and 10, and we'll just have some personal foul or something to get them a new 1st and 10. And I feel like that's just been killing us. But we can clean that up pretty easy.
I think it's mostly on defense, how we be together and learn to trust one another.
As far as the offense goes, do you see anything that they're doing better or improving on?
Most definitely running and how our linemen be making holes for our running backs to go, and most definitely our passing game, we be throwing the ball more and executing more.
You've got Groves to wrap up the regular season before you get ready for the state. What are you guys hoping to do a little bit better in this game?
Make some good plays on special team and execute well on defense too.
The Bulloch Academy segment is brought to you in part thanks to Floors Outlet of Statesboro, located on Northside Drive. Come by and visit Mo for all your floor covering needs.
This is Paul Newman, Statesboro Real Estate. I have 3 kids that attend here. I'm a proud sponsor of Bulloch Academy Athletics and the #1 ranked Gator football team. Go Gators.
Well, the state playoffs actually beginning for the Bulloch Academy Gators. The Gators opening up in the quarterfinals as they'll be hosting Pacelli. Pacelli knocked off FPD earlier this year. They're currently the #1 team in the state. Bulloch Academy number 2, so it should be quite a contest out there at Gator Alley Friday night. We had a chance to talk with head coach Aaron Phillips and a couple players about the matchup.
I feel pretty good. We've had a good week of practice. You know, there's always that when you get to the playoffs, there's that feeling of, oh, we got to win, so we keep going. And you know, we've really tried to tell our kids, you can't play like that. You can't play thinking about winning and losing. You just got to go, you know, play, leave it all out there, and then, you know, control what we can control. And then, you know, at the end of the day, that's all we can do, you know, and everything will fall where it's supposed to fall. We've had 2 really good weeks of practice. Last week, you know, we were real physical, hit every day, went full pads, did a lot of conditioning and running last week, kind of sharpened some things that we needed to work on. Defensively, we was able to, you know, we didn't go ahead and just, you know, wholesale prepare for Pacelli last week, but we started preparing for them, and you know, a lot more so than we did Mount DeSales. So we were able to have, you know, basically our base stuff already in for them, and then Monday we were able to hit the ground running and just expand on that. So really good practice on Monday. Had another good offensive practice yesterday. So we need to continue that this week. And but yeah, I mean, Pacelli's going to be, you know, they'll be the best team we've played so far. You know, super athletic. Coach Dwight Jones, I mean, he's 40 years. He's been at some, you know, been head coach of some really, you know, good programs. You know, have some guys at pretty good size, and you know, have a lot of skill guys, tons of skill guys. You know, they rotate a ton of guys in. They're a little banged up right now, you know, so we really don't know who's playing, who's not playing. But you know, it'll be a great task for us. I think our kids are excited to go out here and play here at Gator Alley, and it's the playoffs. If you're not excited about this, then you're probably playing the wrong sport.
This segment sponsored in part by Total Tire of Statesboro, located at 2703 Northside Drive, featuring friendly, courteous staff. Come see them today for all your automotive needs, featuring alignments, suspension, brakes, tires, and more.
I feel like we're preparing, you know, pretty well at practice. We're going hard, full pads, even though we're still, you know, late in the season, full contact and everything. That's just giving us a look on how to be good as a team and play hard, you know, all the way through fourth quarter. So, yeah, I feel like we're doing a pretty good job at that.
You got Pacelli coming up, the start of the state playoffs. This is what you guys have been gearing up for. How are you feeling going in as far as the opponent, and what do you expect?
You know, I expect what we've been doing, you know, these past couple seasons, dominate off the line, you know, have a good game. I mean, nothing off of them because they're a really good team. They're more of one of the best teams that we're going to face. So we just have to keep in our minds to play as a team and not get, you know, fold under pressure.
I feel great. I feel like it gave us a longer time to be ready and fully equipped, and I feel like we got our stuff together on defense and offense, and we're getting just the pins and needle things, the little things that make it count nowadays in the playoffs. And it's about everybody's skill level is about the same. You got to get all the little things right.
Got a little step up in competition as the state playoffs start. How are y'all feeling about Pacelli?
I feel great. I mean, I feel it'll be a good matchup to see what we're actually made of. I feel like we're gonna see what everybody wants, and there's nowhere to run now. We got to see what we got.
What do they bring to the table?
They have a big running back, big offensive line. They average, I'm sure, around 280 up front. I mean, they're big, but we're low and physical. We're gonna see what we can got.
As for the Portal Panthers, they wrap up the season coming up on Friday night at home. They'll be hosting Savannah High. Well, that'll wrap things up for now. For us, we thank you for joining us and hope to see you again next week.